So I'm out adventuring in the woods today and I found this little shack in the middle of nowhere, and we started a fire, got the pan hot, and we are making chicken fried venison steak and gravy. All right, so the first thing we have to do is pound out our meat. So I've got some venison here. You can really take any steak from the back leg of the deer or elk or moose or whatever it is that you have. So I would say hind quarter meat, that's kind of where all your softer steak meat comes from. So this is a piece of, what do we got on here? This is round. So it's from the top round steak. And I've cut it into strips already in my freezer bag. And all I need to do is hammer this out with a mallet. If you don't have a mallet, you could use a rolling pin. You could use a chunk of firewood if you want to, but you just want to pound it out nice and flat. I just have a piece of parchment paper sitting on my cutting board. And once that's flat, we'll put it in a little bit of milk to get it wet, and then in some dry ingredients. And from there, it'll go straight into the hot oil. All right, so we've got this venison pounded out flat, and it's just sitting in a little bit of a milk bath right now, and that'll help to get it really nice and wet. We really only need to leave that in there for a few minutes. So now we're going to go on to the dry mix. You can use flour and season it with some salt and pepper if you like. So we'll put this mix down quite generously. And the next part, this is just gonna help give it some extra volume, some extra crunch, and I'm just going to take a few handfuls of just a standard salted cracker, and I'm gonna crush that up as fine as I can. Not fine, sorry, I'm gonna crush that up and get a bunch of fine pieces in there, get a bunch of chunky pieces, and once we dip the meat in there, some of these chunks of cracker will adhere to it, and it's just going to make these really nice crispy chunks in the pan when we start frying it. So let's give that a little mix. So we've got one more plate for the finished product, and I'm going to take this guy. You don't really need to worry too much about getting all of the moisture off. The more moisture that's on the meat, the more of this crunchy coating that's gonna stick. So we wanna really press it in there. Get all those nice cracker chunks going. Just make sure that it's covered with chunks of cracker in your flour mix all the way around. And that's looking pretty good. Now, when we're cooking this, we're going to put it in some oil. So 350 degrees is a really great temperature to get an even cook, and that's one of the reasons why we pounded this meat out flat. If it wasn't flat enough, it would take a long time to cook that steak in the middle, and we would burn all the coating on the outside before it cooked through. So since also we're dealing with steak, we don't have to make sure that it's cooked like crazy. We just want it to be somewhat rare, kind of in the middle. So I'm just gonna put this in the hot oil, wait till the outside gets nice and crispy, and then we'll be done. All right, now as we wait for the oil to heat up, which we could have easily done earlier, but I forgot, I'm just going to cut up some green onions, some scallions, which will be the garnish that goes on top of this. I think our oil is hot enough. Let's give it a little drop and see what happens. Okay, so our meat is looking nice and crispy. Classic chicken fried steak, just want it a nice crispy coating on the outside. And I've drained my pan of the majority of the oil, so I want to leave some of the junk that's in the bottom of the pan there. That'll add some more flavor and some color to this gravy that we're now gonna make. I'm going to add about half a cup of butter. You can use oil as well, but butter's way better for this gravy. So we'll go in with our butter, and we just wanna get that melted. And with that melted butter, now I'm just gonna make a really simple roux. I've got white flour in this bag, and I'm gonna sprinkle that on really nice and light, stir it around a little bit and cook that flour. And once that flour cooks just for a couple seconds in that butter, we'll go in with some milk, and that'll start bringing our gravy together. So this is just going to act as a thickener for our gravy. And now really the only thing we want to do is to get this to a gravy consistency is add some whole milk. So 3% milk is good enough. Add a little more. And once it really just looks like gravy, it's done. Since we added some plain ingredients like milk and plain flour, we'll go in with just a hint of salt and pepper. And you can just really do this, mix it in, give it a taste, and make sure it tastes good to your liking. And then that'll be it. All right, gravy is done. All right, we've got this beautiful fried steak. Now we're going in with our gravy. You can be as generous with this as you like. I like to put a big dollop in the middle. You get a little bit of, crispy bits on the outside. You can cut right into the middle and soak up all of that nice gravy. Get a nice big glob in the middle. Now to finish this off, we'll just get that green onion on top. Sprinkle that around a bit. And because we're dealing with something that is pretty fatty and rich, we want to cut that richness with something that's a little more acidic. So I've got this chunk of lemon. I'll add that to the plate. And this is something that you just want to drizzle on top on the end, kind of like get a little drip on each bite, and it'll be a fantastic snack. And here it is, chicken fried steak and gravy. This is just a super classic and awesome way to put some wild game to use. You can eat this for breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's really good any time of the day. Late night snack also goes down really easily. And that's it. So go ahead and give it a try. Chicken fried steak and gravy, wild game edition.